certain things. When I think about Kobe Bryant, I think about L.A. When I think about Larry Bird, I think about Boston.
Sure.
When I think about, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think about L.A. Like, there's certain
No doubt.
pieces, like players that are just synonymous with the towns or the franchises that they built. That you see I'm just wondering for KD if that will happen now at 33 years old in his career.
Here's why.
It doesn't need to happen.
It doesn't
just
need
things
to.
that you're curious about.
Here's why I hear where you're coming from. And I'm going to use a 21st century mindset when it comes to this. This is what happens when people try to follow a template of somebody else. And that guy's LeBron James. Because look what LeBron did. LeBron let it be known that you can go to different places and win championships and have that as a part of your legacy without people putting you in that box. It is a total 21st century way when it comes to professional athletes, not NFL, because it seems that if you're a quarterback, we're going to think of Patrick Mahomes with Kansas City, Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay. Even though Tom Brady's in Tampa Bay, we're still going to regard him as a Patriot player, as a Patriot organizational member. In the NBA, that's more of a players' league. LeBron let it be known that, hey, we control things. So it didn't matter to him that, hey, Cleveland wasn't working out anymore, couldn't win a championship here, I'm going to go to Miami. And then he went back to Cleveland because he felt he had a chance to go to college, and now he's ready to take a real job and bring a championship
But came
there.
through and won them their first championship in franchise history.
And that's the difference. He was able to come through after the first time in Cleveland, and he made each stop his own. He went to Dwayne Wade's team and made
it his own,
Miami.
but you feel like Cleveland is his.
Cleveland is his. That's
spent
fair.
A long period of his career in Cleveland, born in Akron.
Right.
Went back to
true.
Cleveland, won a championship. I still feel like that's
fair.
his.
Right. LA is never going to be his. He's part of the lineage.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's always going to be Kobe's, always going to be Magic's, always going to be Shaq's, always going to be Kareem's,
1,000%. Cleveland is his.
Right.
So that's my question with KD. Like, OKC, but I get it, but I guess it's his to a degree.
But the thing that bothers me when people try to throw that Kevin Durant, and I hate to call his name Charles Barkley, who I respect a lot, but Charles Barkley putting that out there about being a bus driver and all that thing with Kevin Durant, that you got to be the bus driver. Well, Charles Barkley, when things were working out in Philadelphia, moved on to Phoenix. When Kevin Johnson was there, Dan Marley, all those dudes got them to the NBA Finals. And I guarantee you had thrown that kind of conversation about being a bus driver the way he threw that at Kevin Durant, it would have been an issue.
A lot of it is what it sees, right? It's what people perceive. Like, perception is different than what reality is. So a lot of perception that's been built around these two is that KD always defers. And what lends people to that perception is when there are these things that sometimes other players might have openly stated, hey, we don't rock like that. Kevin Durant has not said anything publicly about how Kyrie has handled some things. So people, I think, have mistaken his silence for him deferring, when I know that's not the case behind the scenes.
Well, whatever that is, and that's not to say that you're not making a cogent point, because you are. But I've always been a big believer, it's not so much what the player brings to the situation or the celebrity brings to the situation, it's what you bring to it. No matter what he does, people are never going to forgive Kevin Durant.
Never.
And you made this point off air about 15 minutes ago. They're never going to forgive Kevin Durant, and I'm with you on this one, for leaving to go to Golden State.
They can't get over it. Can't get over it.
He can win championship after championship after championship. He could cure cancer.
Well, that's my thing.
And no one's gonna give him a pass.
Well, no one will ever give him a pass in Golden State. But if he won one, considering all the chaos, and stuck his feet in Brooklyn, I think there will be a lot more. And he doesn't need this. I'm not saying Kevin needs this to validate his own greatness to himself, but there is a sense from others that they will respect him more.
You think so?
If he built something of his own. Even if he navigated Kyrie differently. Now, if he were to leave and then go to Rip City, he may win championships, may still be considered one of the greatest of all time. I will see it that way. But there will be other.
I think you're in the minority because people still never.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people will see it that way. Well, you had to go to somebody else's team where they established the culture because you couldn't do that on your own. To me, as a hooper, that doesn't minimize his greatness
Not
at
to me
all.
either.
But I'm in the deep end. of the basketball world, right? I mean, and that's not a lot of people.
You want more for Kevin Durant than other people want more for him because you know exactly what kind of situation he's dealing with the Brooklyn Nets.
It's the same with any athlete because I know people on the outside look at it.
Right, and I get that. And that's bringing a different perspective. And you're exactly right, Jay, to bring that kind of perspective. I said the same thing last week on First Take that Russell Westbrook, for all the criticism that he gets, he's the kind of draft pick that you should always want because he was able to override himself. People never thought this guy was going to be an MVP.
I'll give you another one. Russell Wilson. Russell
yeah.
Wilson, right? Like, think of the whole narrative that, he wasn't really, look when he drops back and he throws the ball 40 or 50 times. Look how all the numbers go down and the analytics. And they were a run-first team with Marshawn Lynch, and their defense was what got them there. The Legion of Boom, like all this stuff.
True.
And it's true, right? But it's all of a sudden, like, it's used like, well, even though he came off an injury last year, well, he's not he's not a top 10 quarterback. I'm like, whoa, wait a second.
At one point he was. Right now, I don't think so.
Okay.
But at one point he was. At one point
it feels like there's something for him to prove now in the AFC West in Denver with things being reloaded, right?
Especially in that division.
So, like, I feel like for somebody who's done it at a very, very high level,
true.
Like, you go through these lows where people all of a sudden start disrespecting you, like you can't do it on your own, and that's what I hate. That's what I hate.
Well, if you hate it, I can only imagine how much he can't stand it.
Oh.
And it's one thing if the average Joe and Josephine throws that at Kevin Durant, he can put them in a place that you haven't been in my shoes. You haven't been in this situation. But when your peers from the past says it, that drives him nuts. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to speak for him because I know how I would feel. I would say, wait a minute, when you had your chance to do your thing, why don't you let me do my thing the way I want to do it and how I want to go about it? But as long as that perception is out there, he's never going to win in that court. And he knows that more than anybody else, in my opinion.
And here's the biggest challenge, I think, for Kevin Durant. And it's a challenge for, I think, a lot of athletes or anybody in the public eye. We all go through maturation processes, right? Like, I talk to my wife about this all the time. Like, there are a lot of things that she goes through that are not in the public eye, and it allows her to deal with it privately where people don't see the mistakes that are made or how difficult it is to navigate, do I do this or do I do that? And for other people, publicly, when you have to make these decisions, especially for KD, who, he's gotten into spats with different media members. You've seen the way he handles